Your next story will blow people's minds if you follow these techniques. Hello, my name is Mercy and I share tips and tricks on how you can tell a good story irrespective of your field. But before we get right into this video, please don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like, and don't forget to comment on my videos. Subscribe so that you can know when I share more videos like this. Having a good story idea is not bad at all, but it is very important to know the different techniques that you can use to make that story interesting, captivating, and don't forget, very entertaining. Because what is a story without it entertaining you? It is just as if you made a statement. It's just as if you just made a speech. A story is supposed to be interesting. So in this video, I will be sharing with you 5 different techniques that you can use for your next big story. So make sure you watch this video till the end. And if you are ready, let's get right into the video. The first technique that you can use to make your next story very captivating is to use relatable characters. Create relatable characters. Now, has someone ever told you a story before, narrated a story to you before, and for some reason, while the person was narrating the story, you just couldn't wait for the story to end because there was nothing you could relate to there? Like, it was as if the person was just giving you a speech or the person was just reading a script. Now, that is because the person did not create a relatable character. Now, creating a relatable character is a very powerful tool in storytelling because it will make the audience see what you're saying from their own point of view. Relatable characters makes your audience engaged in your story, engaged to what you have to say. They care about their journey, they care about the struggles, they care about the characters, they care about everything that is happening there. So they just want to know how that story will unfold. For example, I listened to a story of someone who was talking about her identity. She was saying that ever since she was born, she had not been known for a particular kind of name, that from her childhood even down to her university, she had been bearing different names. Now, the problem was that there was no specific identity. She didn't have an identity. People could not really trace her to a certain family. Just like, for instance, now, if your name is John Mayers, people can trace you to the Mayers family. But this woman said that she did not have a place, a family that she can be traced to. So because of that, she had some identity issues. Now, when I was listening to this, it kind of resonated to me because at that point, I was struggling with my identity, something that I wanted to be identified with, but I did not know it. But in her own case was family identity. My own case was like a personal identity, a personal discovery, knowing who I really am personally. So you see that her own story was able to relate to mine, even though it was not the same experience, but there was a little relationship and I was able to relate to that story. And when she kept saying the story, when she kept, narrating the whole thing, I really wanted to know how it ended. I really wanted to know how she was able to find her identity. Now, that is a very good example of a relatable character. Another example can be if someone is telling you a story about parenthood. Now, that is very, very relatable because most parents went through this. Most people struggled with knowing how to balance their parenthood, taking care of their children with work and everything. So when you are telling somebody that kind of story, a story in that line, people around can relate to it because they know that they have experienced it and they will be eager to know how that story unfolded. They will be eager to know how that person overcame their own struggles during parenthood and they will be able to compare it to their own. Even if there are new parents around that are listening to it, they can also pick some lessons from it and learn because that is a character, that is a story that they can relate to. So creating a very unique and relatable character is not something that can be overemphasized when you want to tell a story. Now, the second technique I'll be giving you is try to build tension and conflict when you are narrating a story. See, people relate so much when there is buzz, when there is problem, when there is fighting, when there is, when people are engaging in physical activity. People relate so much to things like this. Let's say you're telling a story about a woman who caught her husband with his side chick. Now, people like stories like this. People like hearing things like this. People always want to know, how did the woman catch them? What did she do to catch them? Did she hire a personal investigator? Was she following the man? How did the woman catch them? How did she know that her husband was cheating? What did she do to the side chick? You see, these are all questions that people will be asking in their mind. So when a story like that is placed, or when a story like that is told, people will be very intrigued. People will want to know what is going on. So when there is a bit of conflict and tension in any story you are telling, people will be very captivated because they want to know how the conflict will end. They will even want to know what started the conflict. The third technique is to use sensory details. Now, this particular technique works more when you are doing a visual kind of storytelling. The sensory detail means the use of the senses. For example, have you ever been watching a horror movie and then you feel like you are the one that all these things were happening to? Like this It movie now, I don't know, I've watched just the first part. I've not watched the part 2 because I really cannot watch it. But then when Pennywise tries to catch people, when he makes all those expressions, when he does things to lure those children, sometimes I feel like I'm the one that is in it, and because of that I may not be able to stay and watch the movie to the end. Now, those things were able to happen because the writers of the story were using a whole lot of sensory details when making that movie, so that when you are watching that particular movie, which is actually a story, you will be feeling it. Like your senses will be so heightened, you will be feeling it. Everything you're seeing, you will be feeling as if you are actually in that story. So using sensory details when telling your story is another great technique to captivate the audience and get their attention, to make your story mind-blowing and very interesting and entertaining. Please, if you're getting value from this video, don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment because it encourages me to do more. Now, technique number 4 is to use a strong statement. Use a strong statement when opening your story. Use a very strong opening. I've already made a video about this particular technique. I will leave the link in my description box below, so you go back and check it. But a summary of that is to use a very bold statement. Use a very bold opening. When you are telling your story, don't just start it so boring. Don't just make people not to be interested in that story from the beginning. Use something that will get their attention, whether by asking a question, whether by making a very bold statement that makes the audience question you and want to know what you're saying or why you made that kind of statement. So use a very strong opening when you are telling your story. Now, the last technique is the concept of showing but not telling. If you're very, very conversant, if you know Charlie Chaplin, if you've watched his videos, you will understand the meaning of the statement I made. Charlie Chaplin was a very great entertainer. Now, if you watch all his videos, Charlie Chaplin never said a word. He was just doing things like creating different kinds of actions, but people were very entertained from those things he was doing. Charlie Chaplin was not somebody that was known with words, like when we watch movies and we're hearing what they're saying. No, he was just a very expressive entertainer and good storyteller who used his actions to tell stories, who used his actions to do what he wants to do. The things he cannot say, he would do it by his actions. Now, that is a very good concept of showing but not telling. This one too works in a visual kind of storytelling. That is why I used Charlie Chaplin as a very, very good example. Now, when you're watching any of Charlie Chaplin's movies or videos, whenever he is happy, you can see it. He doesn't necessarily have to tell you, oh, I'm not happy, but from his expressions, you can see it. And his expressions are the kind of things that will draw the audience, not even his words. That is why he's a very, very, very good entertainer, because he uses his expressions so well to captivate the audience. So he uses the concept of showing but not telling in his area of storytelling. So showing your audience what you want them to feel will captivate them, because obviously once you're doing the whole showing but not telling thing, the audience's emotions are already attached to that thing. So once they've seen something, they've seen a reaction that made them stay back, they will want to know, or they want to stay till the end of the story. So this technique too is also important in your area of storytelling. If you apply this technique, like I said, in visual kind of storytelling, you apply it, you make sure that your characters use or have certain kind of emotions that will draw the audience. You will see that at the end, your story will end up being a very, very good and entertaining one. So I can give you a very solid guarantee that for your next story, if you apply any of these techniques, your story will end up being very entertaining and captivating, and people will want more. So try and put these techniques in any story you want to say, or any story you want to talk about, and you will see that there will be positive responses from people. So I will see you again in my next video. Please and please do not forget to subscribe and leave a comment. Don't also forget to like. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.